Forests mirror our time, and they are an inseparable part of Finnish landscapes. A forest is an ecosystem, a habitat, a place of growth, a home, a workplace, a source of well-being and income. Forests are a window to both the past and the future. They are much more than just trees, but without trees, there would be no forest. Trees are a forest backbone. We can acquire wood and use trees as raw material. However, the way we do it has a crucial effect on nature.
Nature Time Machine allows you to see forests from different angles and helps you to understand what their biodiversity entails. The Time Machine guides you in finding connections that you perhaps did not know about before.
Trees can live for hundreds of years, many times more than humans. Nevertheless, the average age of trees in southern Finland today is close to the average age of humans, and a tree's life ends often around the same age as ours. Today's forest reality results from decisions made by humans.
The Nature Time Machine lets you peek into alternate futures of a common forest in southwestern Finland. You will find out how fascinating biodiversity is and learn to interpret the changes that are visible in our forests.
Finland is the most forested country in Europe, and the majority of species in Finland have adapted to living in woodland. Forests and woody mires cover approximately 3/4 of our country's land area, but especially in southern Finland. Forests have been almost entirely modified by humans. A few hundred years ago, Finland's forests looked very different than today, and since then, they have changed tremendously. Forests have been cleared and burned to turn them into fields. Humans have needed more and more raw material from trees. We have built ships for trade and for wars, as well as houses, both in Finland and all the way in the growing cities of Central Europe. We have produced tar and later on paper. Wood for all of this has been acquired from Finnish forests. These days, about 90% of Finnish forests are in commercial use, which has a strong effect on nature. Commercial forests consist of uniform forest stands in terms of soil, forest use history, and trees. A forest stand is generally only about 1 hectare in size. In some stands, the forest is denser, in some less so. In some, the trees are older, in some, they are younger. Some stands are dominated by Norway spruce, some by Scots pine. The number of deciduous trees varies. The characteristics of a site affect not only the cultivated trees, but also other living organisms in that same area.
An average Finn lives approximately 700 meters away from the nearest forest. Close your eyes. What do you see when you think about a forest?
To explore forest biodiversity, focus on 3 key features: structural complexity, the presence or absence of organisms, and their interactions with each other, as well as the abiotic environment. Although every forest is different, they are also similar in some aspects. Forests have trees in different sizes, shapes, and ages, in different distances from each other. Other vegetation adds layers to forests. These varying layers provide habitats to different organisms, such as fungi, lichen, and animals. The residents of different forests vary depending on their requirements and needs. For example, a northern goshawk nests only in old, large trees, preferably Norway spruce. Terrestrial animals need different types of shrubs or scrub. Litter accumulating under trees hosts numerous different small-scale animals. Each organism has its own role in the larger forest ecosystem. There are many interactions between living organisms, as well as between living and abiotic nature. Some of these interactions are visible, others hidden in tree root systems and in soil. The more complex these interactions are, the more biodiversity there is. Thus, biodiversity is variation in nature, the way organisms occupy space, what they are, and how they interact. Some of this can be seen, smelled, or heard, but some exist beyond the reach of human senses. Variation occurring in nature has many connections to, for example, the production of food and raw materials, to air and water quality regulation, to human well-being and health, as well as to climate change mitigation. In commercial forests, the variation existing in a single stand has often been intentionally reduced. The simplicity of structure and species uniformity make forestry easier, which increases financial gains.
The Nature Time Machine contains views of different forests and allows you to see what they and their biodiversity could be like in the future as a result of different decisions. By looking at the forest, you can see both today and the future.
Here, the forest organisms are constructing Squirrel Suburb. At this very moment, it is a 50-year-old moist heath forest in southwestern Finland. The dominating tree species is Norway spruce. When trees were planted at this site, it was 1975. Urho Kekkonen was the president of Finland. Anne Potamo from Finland became Miss Universum, and a character named Uno Turhapuro was popular on film. The OSCE, Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, held a conference in Helsinki. Finland was fourth in the World Ice Hockey Championships when Sweden won bronze. Forestry placed emphasis on efficient wood production, which was achieved with rather forceful treatments. The treetops surrounding you in this forest reach up to about 20 meters in height. In 1 hectare area, there are about 500 Norway spruce, less than 100 Scots pine, and an equal number of deciduous trees, mainly birch. The trees are already quite large, but they are still in a phase of rapid growth, and their ability to sequester carbon is at its highest. The spruce trees are, of course, only a part of the forest and its carbon sink. This is because in a forest, carbon is stored not only in tree trunks, branches, needles, and roots, but also in all biomass, both living and dead, above and below ground. So far, there are very few cones visible in the Squirrel Suburb spruce trees. What happens next to the forest depends on the forest owner.
The Nature Time Machine takes you on a time travel to see how the Squirrel Suburb will look like after 30 years as a result of alternate decisions.
The trees in Squirrel Suburb have been felled. The spruce had grown into a size suitable for logs, so they became good quality lumber and plywood. When the growth of a commercial forest starts to slow down and its trees are sufficiently large, the forest is usually felled and replanted. The decision to do so is often based on the development of the monetary value of the trees. After clear cutting, the forest cultivation cycle starts from the beginning. As trees are planted and thinning completed, the tree species present in a forest stand are determined by humans. The Squirrel Suburb has been replaced by young, small tree saplings that are under 2 meters in height. When large trees are gone, other plants take up space between tree saplings in the clear-cut area. The saplings form a dense thicket. There are about 1,800 spruce trees planted to 1 hectare area. Thousands of fast-growing birch trees that have germinated from wind-blown seeds dominate the space between the planted spruce. There is plenty of life, but the forest structure, organisms, and interaction webs have clearly been transformed compared to what was. What if the trees in Squirrel Suburb would have had the chance to grow 30 years more? They would have grown taller and the treetops now reach to more than 20 meters high. Due to old age, there are slightly fewer trees, but their canopy covers a larger area. Fallen trees offer habitats for insects and fungi that need decaying wood. Older spruce trees produce seeds, and in good years, there are hundreds of cones in the treetops. The squirrels also feast on fungi that grow in symbiosis with the trees. We do not know yet how the story of this forest will unravel, but it will continue in one way or another.
The Nature Time Machine allows you to see and hear how forests change through time, and as a result of human decisions. You will learn to observe forest biodiversity by looking at its structure, its organisms and interaction networks. How do different forest structures look like? How many birds can you find? How about squirrels, polypores, or insects? What do different forest organisms actually do? What kind of networks do they form with one another? What could be a biodiverse forest in the future?
You can enjoy the full-scale Nature Time Machine produced by Biodiful Research Consortium in 2026. Until then, you can walk in your local forest wondering what it might look like in 30 years' time. In the Nature Time Machine, you can notice that the future is already here.